Well, it was you guys, wasn't it? I thought that
Yes.
was what we went with. I heard the shout out on the podcast. I had to come back. No, yeah.
It's on the record.
It's on the record. It's on the record. You know what? Let's make something special of it. And yeah, that game I think will go down in history of England Korfball as one of the most exciting and best games of Korfball to ever watch. And I got woke up in the night one night, and mum woke me up and said, "Yeah, you're coming with me. We're going to China." Yeah, yeah, as an 11-year-old, you think, what's going on? You're gonna have to.
I can't wait for this. I can't wait
This is a hard
for this.
one.
There's no way you win this. This is
I know that.
This is an unwinnable answer.
It's you know what, they've got 2 arms and 2 legs. I've got 2 arms and 2 legs. What's the difference? I can do everything that they can do and go for it, really. And yeah, a very humbling moment, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And yeah, and now look where I am. So it must have helped. It must have helped.
Spurred you on, dare I say.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the For Korf's Sake podcast. I'm one of your hosts, James Sawyer, and I'm joined by the CEO, the mayor, the queen, whatever you want to call it, of Step Back City. It's Caitlin Fitzgerald.
The big daddy.
What a start. What a start.
Why not?
What a start. Caitlin, how is your week going? New venue for you.
Yeah, don't look too closely into where I am. Don't tell my employer.
No, but how is your week going?
Yeah, all good. Obviously, game of the weekend, which is nice, and then an England training coming up. So the first time since the squad has been announced, so that'll be really, really good.
Yeah, nice. Very excited to hear all about that on next week's episode. But enough about next week. Let's focus on this week. Folks, we've got an absolute banger for you this week. We've got so much to discuss, but yeah, to begin with, we just want to kind of, I guess, take some time to, again, firstly, recognize some of the clubs that we've already seen that have submitted their entry. Shout out Trojans, Tigers for the Kim Oakhill, 150 goals for Kim. Want to shout out those clubs for getting in early. Beck also recorded theirs last night, so we will have that as well, soon to go up. But yeah, we wanted to basically quickly cut now to an episode that we've recorded with Alison and Steve Rumble regarding the Kim Oakhill crowdfunder and the foundation that's been set up in kind of honor of that as well. There's going to be an entire bonus episode in episode 22 that we've recorded that will go out completely dedicated to that. But we just wanted to give folks, I guess, a bit of a teaser as to what that is and to let people know how they can get involved, right, Caitlin, and the different initiatives that might be available.
Yeah, exactly. That episode will talk through all of the different funding ideas that are currently in the works, various things that you and your club can do. Yeah, ways to get in contact with Alison and Steve if you want to get involved in stuff they've already got planned too. So, yeah, really insightful, and also it talks about that the foundation, which is a longer piece of work to help everyone in Korfball, really.
Yeah, it really was an amazing conversation, and what they're doing is incredible. And so, yeah, we'll just quickly cut now to, I guess, 3 or 4 minute kind of highlights of what you can do to help, etc. And then, yeah, we'll be back here.
Okay, so I guess best place to start is Kim. I'd say she was probably one of the kindest, most caring, most giving, most thoughtful, most generous people that I know. She's mum to Sam and Josie and Alex, and wife to Nick. She's just 50, so she's young. She's a qualified Korfball coach. And I think if you were to go through the Just Giving page and read the comments that people have put on there, and the number of donations as well, that over 600 people have donated already, you'll start to get a really good feel that she's a very loved person.
The other thing is, she's more than likely facing the hardest card that can be ever given to you in life. And yet, even when we're having interactions with her, we're coming off the call going, blimey, she's still thinking about other people. You know, the reason the foundation's come about is because she wanted to make sure there was a place for the money if she couldn't use it.
And she's literally just won an award at work, and she works in hospitals. In fact, she was until she was retired on medical grounds, but for outstanding impact on patient care for last year's work. She's done some amazing things at the hospital as well. So she's a very giving person.
So that's a national level award. It's a bit like the equivalent of the BAFTAs to the NHS, really. So she's been recognised nationally for her role, how she's improved the Cambridge healthcare environment. which is quite incredible. So she has a form of lung cancer. It wasn't detected early enough. So, she had the symptoms and went on different pathways, but wasn't detected early enough, which has resulted in it being stage 4. She's in second or third round of chemo treatment, which is very aggressive. There might be some hope that does work and give some time to Kim's journey, but she won't know that for sure. She's got a very rare mutation of the cancer that exists. So traditional treatments and pathways aren't necessarily as effective. So this drug that is available
It's
is
not available
is not
on the
available on the
NHS.
NHS at the minute. It's available as a trial, as a drug for her, but she can't get access to it. So that's what the fundraising is for, is to give her access to this drug. We've got crib sheets. We're going to be sending those out to really how you do it. For a bingo night or a speed quiz or a race night, those will be coming out to clubs in the coming days. Just do it. Do it for Kim. Get other people along. You might find actually it works so well you want to run it more regularly, and then you've got the funds coming into your club. So it might be actually an additional opportunity for you. And these events, when they're run, you can get anything for like £600 to £1,000. Our hope is if people kind of go, right, well, let's do this. If we've not done it as a club before, let's just do it and do it for, Kim's agenda. But what you might find, as what's happened with tornadoes, is that suddenly becomes a revenue stream.
And the other thing I wanted to share as well was 150 shots that Hurricanes are doing, which is awesome. I mean, I've seen that shared loads, and what a great post they've done. So it's Top Gear inspired. So it's to do the leaderboard to, get your team at the top there, and just encouraging as many teams as possible to enter that, and all the details of how to enter on their social media page. So there's that one.
Is to try and attempt the world record for the longest continuous game. I believe an English club had it at one point, but the Dutch currently have it. About 35 hours of continuous Korf. It's a match. There's some rules around it. It's an official world record. To find a club that might be up for, there might be more than one club trying to break that record. And then if they say yes, then we'll obviously set that up officially to try and get the world record, but also see if we can raise some funds for Kim.
If there are any clubs out there that want any ideas of anything else they can do, we've got a zillion and one ideas. So if they don't like the thought of anything that we've already mentioned, there's so many others. There's bake sales, there's obviously Pleasure of the Week's training, there's fancy dress, come dressed fancy dress. There's loads of stuff. So we can certainly do a bit of a crib sheet on other things that you could do. But if everybody could do something, that would be incredible.
Absolutely amazing effort there from those two, and that episode will come out in the next few days after this episode airs. So for anyone wanting to get involved, just to reiterate, please do reach out to us, reach out to Alison, whatever you can do, as any efforts are greatly received, and just great effort from all the clubs that have already got involved so far, right?
Yes, indeed. And specifically on the 150 shots part, check out Leaders Hurricanes Instagram page for all the rules and how to submit as well.
Yeah, it was it's great seeing the community come together like that. But Caitlin, we will move on to the next area of the show. As like I said at the start, we've got so much going on this week. You will appreciate that we are in different locations. That's because what we kind of, figured that we would film sort of changed. So we filmed with Shane Buckland this week. We will bring him on shortly, but that will be, again, it's something that we filmed earlier in the week. But we do need to go through last week's fixtures, Caitlin, and we do need to talk all things National League. We'll definitely keep it quick, because we know that everyone wants to hear from Shane and everything that he's got to say. And it was a phenomenal episode, wasn't it? So, I guess, should we burst through these and give the fans what they want in terms of the league updates?
Yeah, let's do it. Quick fire.
Okay. Got to stop calling them fans as well. We've discussed this. Listeners, we don't have fans. Right. So first up, we have Kingfisher versus Trojans. And that game finished 23-20 to Trojans. Away from home from them. That was in Kingfisher. So, thoughts on that game, Caitlin?
Yeah, do you know what? Was super close throughout. Kingfisher, in the lead at times, and a very, very physical game. You could kind of gauge what was at stake. But I think that in the latter stages of the game, that Trojan's strength really, really came through, and that is something they are very good at. Neve Butterworth with an amazing performance, again, 5 goals. And if you look at that Trojans team, the goals bar Neve's 5. The rest are actually spread very evenly across the team. I've said this before, they're really getting the best out of each other. I do think, though, Kingfisher are capable of beating Trojans. It's just that final 10 minutes of the game or so, and I know probably better than most how tough it can be to beat a Trojans team when it comes to crunch times. If that is the semi-final, that's shaping up to be a really exciting one. Maybe Kingfisher can do it on the day. Don't write them off.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Also, I know, the point of a squad is that you need to have a squad that you can rotate. But I do think Dan Brown wasn't there, and I know that he'd gone down injured the previous week. So really hope that's nothing serious. But yeah, it was a great game to watch. That game, the last 2 games this season, I mean, that would be a phenomenal second and third game to watch, wouldn't it? If it was that is how the season ends. What a semi-final that would be. Yeah, so yeah, great game to watch. Cheers for both teams for uploading as well. Next up, we had a really tight game that I haven't seen, Caitlin, and that's not Nomads 1 versus Norwich Knights 1, and that finished Knights beating Nomads at Epsom 22-21, so just a 1 goal in it.
Yeah, I don't know if this might be been recorded by Knight, but yeah, again, I haven't seen the footage. I think this is a massive win for Knights, especially down in Epsom. Knights about Charlie Vogel too, but I have to call out Ethan Pickard, who Charlie actually mentioned on this podcast early on in the season as a player to really watch out for this year for Knights. 9 goals from open play, which is really impressive, and I think kind of kept them in the game. Made sure they were on the right side of the result at the end.
No other way to describe that. 9 goals is an absolutely incredible return. Against Nomads in Epsom as well, I cannot understate just how impressive that is to be able to, because obviously they pick up so many loose balls, Nomads, when you're playing in that hall. And so the confidence and the ability to shoot at that is just ridiculous. So great work from him. And yeah, I guess as well, shout out, Libby Thomas in the Nomads fold scoring 5 as well. Always, I know must be challenging when you don't get to train with the team as frequently as you'd like to. So yeah, very good result. And then we have Beck 1 versus Beersted, and that finished 35-13. So yeah, I guess probably a predictable result with Beck being at home and back to kind of full strength again or close to. So yeah, thoughts on that, Caitlin? You played in that game.
Yeah, a fun game to play and got to try lots of different things as a Beck team. I do think Beersted did obviously come out in the second half much improved, and also there are things to work on for Beck in this game. I think particularly defensively, I think Beck over the last few years have really shut teams down. So I think some tightening up that can be done there just to really kind of assert that dominance in this league.
Yeah, and I'd like to apologise to the listeners for not being filmed. So credit to John Denton, who has an incredible camera setup and the way that works. And unfortunately, John had some personal issues within the family that meant that he couldn't attend our game at the weekend. In hindsight, it's quite easy. I do have a tripod and I literally forgot to bring it. But so I'll take responsibility for that. I definitely could have popped my phone up and recorded that for the listeners, and we apologise for not doing that. That is absolutely on us. So yeah.
No one is more disappointed than Marcus Ty, who, yes, did score a one-hander from about 8 meters.
And I think that is the best segue ever, Caitlin, onto the Cambridge Tigers versus Tornadoes game. So let's just start. Before we talk about the result, Isaac O'Hare, as Korfball Style has put on, if you haven't seen Korfball Style on Instagram, Isaac O'Hare for Cambridge Tigers not only scored a one-hander essentially from the halfway line under shot clock pressure for Cambridge Tigers against Tornadoes in the National League, he's also done this from his own half in a Bucks game by the looks of it for Cambridge University. Just what the hell in the same season obscene, right?
Such a shame that goal from defence didn't count because it was really, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, exactly that. So as good as you are, Marcus Ty, Isaac's better. Get over it. Right, but yeah, anyway, on to the result. Tornadoes beating Cambridge Tigers in a really close game, 2018. I think this was going to be predictably a close game. Yeah, so Caitlin, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I mentioned last week that Cambridge Tigers defence has been really impressive this year. Their games are generally low scoring. They managed to keep teams down to usually less than 20 fairly frequently, and to keep a kind of free-flowing, free-shooting Tornadoes team to just 20, I think is also impressive. I do think, though, having watched most of this game, that in attack, I think is what is kind of stopped Cambridge from winning this game. I think a bit static, I think, that at times, but yeah, close result. It's still all to play for in the league, and I mean, how long are we into this podcast now? 21 episodes or so. I'm finally throwing out a few opinions about the way they played. So that's my thoughts on that one.
No, I'd agree. Some really, really standout performances. Luke Buckland grabbing 7 for Tornadoes and dragging them across the line. really, really impressive from him there. But also, I would agree with what you said there. I think at the start of the year, the way Tigers were playing, I think it was easier to disrupt them attackingly. And I think it was kind of clearer what they wanted to do. I will say, I think they've made some really good improvements over moving the ball side to side, them moving it expansively, not kind of trying to constantly go through the middle. And I think that shows. I think they're scoring a lot of good goals. But I honestly think if they are able to retain the team they've got this season, given the whole problems they had last season, they're able to retain that. Next season's going to be really interesting because they are defensively really astute. And so if they can start to pop the goals in, as we've seen this season, it's been great entertaining. But really good from them. That summarizes the games. And just before, I appreciate we want to bring Shane on. This is going to be a really long episode, folks. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We love Korfball, but did just want to raise, Caitlin, a really fun segment that Kieran Tang has kindly put together for us. I don't think you would have seen this, but I'm going to walk it through with you. So we said, and it's been mentioned multiple times on the podcast, that we know that Bromley, for example, were a number of goals off of reaching actually like the top half of the table. Kieran Tang has kindly basically gone through and looked at the results of the weekend and then basically given us a rundown on some teams. So let me give you some statistics that I think is really interesting, okay? We'll start off with if Cambridge Tigers, had scored 7 more goals across 3 games, they would be 4th. So, this is how crazy the season can go. If Trojans scored 11, they would be 1st across 3 games.
Don't like that one.
No. And then I think perhaps for me, the most interesting one, if Nomads had scored 9 more goals across 4 games, so that's an extra 2 goals a game, they'd be in 3rd place. And you look at the table and how it currently sits, as I look at my phone now, Nomads are sitting in 7th. And so it goes to show just how close the games have been this season. And like, even as far as to say, we're looking at Norwich Knights and the start to the season that they had I think it's, if they had, 14 more goals across 4 games, they'd be in 2nd place. So it's just some really interesting statistics to look at. And basically you can see like Bromley, for example, with, 16 goals across 4 games go to 5th. So just goes to show the season this year is so close, like so unbelievably tight and close that we're talking about like 2 goals a game, 1 goal a game being the difference between teams, not just being in the top 4, but being like comfortably in the top 4. It's what an amazing season, right?
Yeah, I was actually looking at the league table before we started recording, and even now with kind of 4 or 5 games to go for each team, from teams down in 8th. So Cambridge Tigers are actually in 8th place right now, but they're not out of playoff contention. I know that isn't entirely in their control. They would have to rely on Bristol not picking up some points, but it really is all to play for still, which is a result of how close the games have been across the season so far. So we're really in the crunch time now, and I'm sure there's going to be some more chops and changes as we go through these last few games.
Every game matters, and we couldn't. What a year to start a podcast! What a year to start a podcast!
It's
super. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They actually, there was an agreement, believe it or not, with Bruno, where they would let Caitlin take the shot in golden goal. That was part of, it's all a fix for the pod. But no, a great season ahead. Lots, like you say, crunch time now. Really excited for the remainder of the season. But that kind of summarizes that. And we always say quickfire, and we always end up going on longer than we want because we absolutely love talking about the league, etc. But I think it's time. I think it's time, Caitlin. I think let's hand over to ourselves. Let's introduce this legend of the game, this icon, this generational talent. Let's get him intro, shall we?
Give the people what they want. Let's do it.
The people what they want. Well, Caitlin, do you think it's time?
No time like the present.
No time like the present. Let's do it. Let's do this intro, folks. It's a biggie. So we've got the guest today, the current England superstar, forging his way through the Dutch ranks, is finally joining us, Caitlin. We finally get him. The listeners have wanted it. They've craved it. And we're finally able to give the people what they want. So without further ado, let's reel off some of this player's highlights. Debuted in the England National League at just 16 years old, is a National League silver medalist, a multiple-time National League bronze medalist, was of course a crucial part of the iconic England under-17s and under-19s roster that achieved that all-important bronze medal at an international level. We are still craving that in the England setup. We're still trying to relive those glory days. Made his senior England debut at just 18 years old as well. Absolutely incredible. And has now moved over to the Netherlands, where he plays his Korfball for DeetosSnel in the Korfball League 2. He is in our opinion, without doubt, the most exciting prospect that we have in England, and is described by Caitlin Fitzgerald herself as a generational talent. The only description of generational that I believe has been used on this podcast is the iconic Rob Summers red card as a generational crash out. So the word is only used in the greatest of terms, by the big Fitz. But he did, we always try and level it out. He did once lose the Nomads final summer tournament to myself. So you can go as high as you want, Caitlin. You can achieve great things, but I'm always here to bring you back down to earth.
Nothing like a James Sawyer humbling.
Yeah, I don't think we actually played him, but that's fine. It doesn't matter. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, he comes from one of the all-time Hall of Fame families of England Korfball, and is more than living up to the exceptionally high expectations on his shoulders. Folks, it's our pleasure to introduce the one and only Shane Buckland is on the podcast.
Woohoo, finally.
Thank you for having me. And it's a pleasure to be here. I've been an avid follower of the For Korf's Sake podcast since episode 1. So I think it's a great idea, and absolutely love what you guys are doing, and lets me follow the league back in England as well, which is always nice to do. And that one Nomads tournament, we were a very humbling moment, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and and now look where I am. So it must have helped. It must have helped.
Spurred you on, dare I say? But no, I was going to say it's really great to have you on. So much to discuss, and we can definitely cover a lot of things we haven't really spoken about on this podcast just yet. But something that we do like to speak about with everyone, and I think most people can probably work out how you came across Korfball, but I would love to know actually, your first memories of playing and what that was.
Yeah, my first memories of playing, I can tell you that I'm one of the first juniors to ever be registered at Dutch Korfball Club. My mum and dad were obviously a big part of the build-up of Dutch Korfball Club and the beginning of it with Jackie Hubbard. And I think I got registered in the club as a junior at the age of 4. And not that I was ever playing at the age of 4, but I always say that I was one of the first juniors to play for the club. I think first memories always in the under-9s. I think just fun games. It was, I think it was Holmesdale School against the likes of Kingfishers. I think it was, it wasn't Beck, it was Scorpions at the time.
Yeah.
I remember those games very vividly in my youth, and that's how I've made so many friends and enjoyed to learn to love korfball. From that, I didn't have necessarily the upbringing of going from a primary school and then learning that way. More definitely that it was a korfball in the household thing. Mum and dad always dragging me along to games. At the end, it wasn't dragging me along. I absolutely love going. That's where I've been brought up in the korfball world.
When did you kind of discover that love for the game? Was it right from the get-go, or did that come over time?
I've always had an enjoyment of the game, and I think the fact that Dad being the England senior coach at the time, and him going on trips. I think there was one trip, a senior trip to China, and I was in year 6 at the time, so I was 11, 12, around that age, and I remember getting really jealous that my dad was going to China for korfball, and I got woke up in the night one night, and mum woke me up and said, "You're coming with me. We're going to China." As an 11-year-old, you think, what's going on? What am I meant to do? What am I meant to say? Just, we're going to China. He goes all the way to China to experience all the korfball, but also that aspect of going out into the world and seeing what there is. Not just based in the UK, not based in Europe, but it's that another aspect. And I think from that moment, I was like, you know what, this is something I want to be involved with, and see how far I can go and see how far I can get with it. Luckily, I've been able to go quite far with it. It's that was probably a turning moment for me where I said, you know what, korfball is the sport that I want to do, and I love very much.
What were you playing before that? So, were you playing another sport? Like, I know a lot of kids grow up on different sports. Like, were you playing something else when you decided to go all in on korfball?
I grew up playing football as well. Dad was when he was younger a very avid football player, and it was always try and combine it as best I can. And then I think after that moment where I went away to China, I kind of said, yeah, if I'm going to have to make a choice between korfball and football, then I'm going to choose korfball. And I think that was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Yeah, I bet mum and dad were pleased as well, sacking the cold Sunday morning on the grass versus the nice warm indoor hall. I think that's definitely...
That's for sure. I mean, I thought I got away from outdoor sports until I came over here and realised they've got an outdoor league, and that's something I've had to learn to like. I'm not going to say love, because that's something different.
Those nomad tournament scars are haunting you, aren't they?
Yeah, no, exactly that. But nomads tournament is always good weather, so it's, you can't really complain about that.
True, and I think I really relate to that kind of that international exposure being really kind of motivating you to fall in love with the sport even more. I think for me, like I remember I luckily got into the England setup after 1 year of playing, because they simply had no girls and I was about a foot taller than everyone. But I got to go to Flanders at the time, very early on in my korfball career, and just seeing how a korfball operated on that international stage was so motivating. But you continue to progress in Tornadoes. Debuting at 16 in the National League and going on to have pretty great success within that Tornadoes team. Just because there's so much to cover with the move to the Netherlands and DeetosSnel, etc. I'd just like to get a few words on kind of your highlights from playing at Tornadoes and some fond memories from being there.
But yeah, I think obviously coming into the first team at Tornadoes at the age of 16 was always a high moment that you're going to remember. And I remember I came in when you have the playoff games to come up into the National League and come down, and I got subbed on for the last, I think it was 5 minutes, and I'd been as nervous as anything, and then came on the field with Josh Sparks, and we were always played in the second team together. We got to come on in the first team together, and he'd had a bit of experience, and I was really nervous. Luckily, in that first game, we went straight into attack, and I was able to score more or less in my first attack as well. And that gave me a confidence boost that I think, it's always going to stay with me. How that developed at Tornadoes was something special as a special team. Obviously, we started with my mum as the coach, Shane Buckland, and that team developed. You had Owen, you had Dan, you had Ashley, you had Alex Durham, you had Lucy Buck, Ollie Woodham, and then you had more over the next 2 years from that. You had people more from my generation of Jacob Dawes, Zach Catterall, Aisha Chowdhury, Alex Richardson, Eleanor Barker, who all came in, kind of merged with an age group that we always looked up to. We always knew that they were good players. To get to play with them was something special as well. And to merge our talents with their talents, it was a special team, and that's always going to stick with me. And I think one of the best memories I've got, and I know you guys are going to hate it.
I know what you're going to say.
It's that semi-final win against Beck, and where it went down to the wire.
Yeah.
I think that year Beck were seen as the favourites as winning the league. So we came into that game, you know what, we've got something to prove, and this is also something that we worked for together for the last couple of years, coming close, playing against Trojans in these semi-finals. And I think it was the first time we had Beck as a semi-final. He's like, you know what, let's make something special of it. And that game, I think, will go down in history of England Korfball as one of the most exciting and best games of Korfball to ever watch. Both teams were good, and goes down to the wire with a penalty in the last second, and Owen Bailey being able to convert that as well. You can't want much more from a Korfball game, and that is the highlight of my Tornadoes career. That's for sure.
Yeah, a game that had everything. As you say, right down to the wire there, and some after the final whistle drama, which we all loved to observe as well. Got a bit spicy there too.
Yeah. Definitely want to call out as well. That absolutely is one of the best games that you can go and watch. You watch that back, that's a phenomenal game, despite how hard it is as a Beck fan to watch it back. But also, you guys, what a final you guys put on against Trojans that year as well. That is probably one of the most exciting finals that there's been as well. It really was the you know, we say before that Tom Brady said it before, the young team of Beck, but Beck's always had some more kind of legacy players in there. You guys were literally the young guns after beating Beck, going after Trojans. That was a phenomenal watch. And your semi-finals against Trojans as well at the Copper Box. Honestly, I think Tornadoes have put on some of that Tornadoes team with you guys in it, have put on some of the best korfball games that we've got to watch. I mean, if anybody hasn't seen those, go back and watch them. They are unbelievable games to watch. You guys have been part of those. So yeah, amazing career at Tornadoes. But I guess, Caitlin, that probably moves on to what you really want to discuss, doesn't it? That transitions nicely into the decision to pick up your bags and leave the UK and head across the pond the opposite way to the States and go over to the Netherlands. So Caitlin, I'll leave you to talk about all the things you love Dutch Korfball.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, I'm sure you probably do, but just in case you don't, he now plays at DeetosSnel in the Netherlands, who play in Korfball League 2, which is the second tier of Dutch Korfball competition. And they are vying for promotion into the Korfball League, the top league of Dutch competition. I'd like to know first, though, Shane, kind of how this move came about and ultimately what made you decide to take your game to the next level and head on over.
It's always been a kind of dream of mine to go out and play in the Netherlands and see how far I can actually go and how far I can push myself to what level I can get to. And I think I was obviously selected for, I think it was 2018 in Holland. And that spiked a bit of interest from Dutch clubs. And I was in a talk with a guy called Dennis Doves, who's now the head coach of Black Wit, about maybe going to KZ at the time. And that was, for me, not so good timing because I was 17 at the time and obviously still got to finish my education, still got to go to school, and I can't just sack that off for Korfball. Some things have got to come first. And so, yeah, that was kind of how that went about. And then, unfortunately, COVID happened and that kind of halted all plans of, going forward over to the Netherlands. And not that I'd made the decision to go, but there was talks going on in the background just to see, if I wanted to go out there for a week and see what it's like and things like that. And then, we came back. COVID finished, and I got a phone call from a man called Oscar Mulders. If you don't know him, he's considered one of the best Dutch korfball players from my mum and dad's generation, and he took over the technical director at DeetosSnel. And he'd spoken with Leon Simmons, who was the coach, and they basically wanted to ask if I was still open to the idea of coming to Holland because they knew that I was interested in it already. And I did. They organised a week for me to come out and basically train with the first and second team. See a game and just explore the area where Deitos is. And that week was an amazing week for me, and opened my eyes quite a lot to what there is available. It's a completely different life out here, korfball wise, to how it is back in England. That was something I said, you know what, I'm going to go for it, whether it be a year, whether it be longer. It's a year was always the first year to see how it goes. If I can fit in, it might be that I absolutely crash out and didn't enjoy it one bit and wanted to go home. But no, that's sort of how it came about. And had the first year, which was an insight to how I came over to the Netherlands.
Yeah, amazing. I would love to hear just kind of a bit more about that feeling of, or just kind of how it felt walking into those first couple training sessions. Where did you feel your level was at in comparison to the players you were alongside? Because correct me if I'm wrong, Deitos were playing still second or third tier at this point, never below third, I think. So still at the very, very upper end. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I obviously had the conversations with Deitos, they were playing in the Korfball League 2, and unfortunately that year they got relegated with. I think that was a crazy year in the Korfball League 2. That they were 2 points off promotion, off of the playoffs, but then they ended up getting relegated somehow on goal difference or something like that. So it wasn't that they're a bad team, but yeah, it was that they had to go down to what they call the Hoofdklasse, which is the third tier of the Korfball out here. And in my head, I kind of thought, you know what, if I go out there and play in the Hoofdklasse, then I can kind of catch my bearings where I fit in with the team, at the level of what I can play, and also get used to how they play in Holland, because it's obviously slightly a bit different to how they play in England as well. And so even though them getting relegated, I thought, you know what, this could actually be a blessing in disguise for me, that I don't come straight into the deep end. I can actually build up and find my feet whilst I'm out here. And that was the case. In the first year I was out here, we ended up getting promoted straight away and become champions in first year, which is always a good feeling. And then you're ready to go into the Korfball League 2, which is another level completely. And that's where we're at now. And now we're pushing to try and get into the Korfball League, which is another step in the right direction.
Yeah, no, very exciting season with Dietos currently. We'll get on to. Just wanted to touch on the differences between Korfball in England and in the Netherlands. Obviously, I know that training once a week for 2 hours is nothing compared to what goes on in the Netherlands. Could you just talk me through a typical week at Dietos and what that looks like?
A typical week at Dietos for me would be Monday is I train Monday evenings for 2 hours, and that is specifically focused on shot training, or depending on what the team wants to do on that one specific 2 hours slot. So it might be that half the team do an hour of shooting and the other team do an hour of rebounding, and then you swap over. But it can also be strength and conditioning training, but it's always set and specific on the Monday. Tuesday we then have a meal together before the training at the clubhouse, and then we have 2 hour training again, which is more gameplay, how we want to play. And then Wednesdays, luckily a free day, but for me, I get involved with the club and give out training sessions every now and then as well to younger teams, and which is kind of expected from selection players to have that involvement with the club as well. Thursday again is another 2 hour session. We have a half an hour video session before our training to look at a game from the previous week, the team that we're going to be playing on the Saturday. Come up with almost sort of plan for how we're going to play, what's our strengths, what their strengths are, how we're going to stop that, and how we're going to play to our strengths. And then we have we try and incorporate that into our training on the Thursday. And then that's all in the build up to Saturday, which is always the big game on Saturday evening, which is obviously a little bit different to England, considering England play on the Sunday, which I think, if I'm being honest, I think England should move their games to Saturday, and it gives everyone a lot more of a, I don't know, obviously you travel on a Sunday and then you think you come back and you think, I've got to work on the Monday. That's not so nice. Whereas if you have a game on a Saturday, you have the Sunday as like, I can actually recover from the game and give it your all, which also allows for a lot more socialising as well within the sport.
Yeah, and I think that's great. Really awesome to hear that all kind of set out. And I obviously kind of knew a bit about the involvement that you have in the club as a player at the top level in the Netherlands. The multiple training sessions, the meals beforehand, video analysis, all of that included. But also that real kind of social element, and spend a lot of time with these people. How did that help kind of settling into life in the Netherlands? How did you settle into all of that? And we'll go with that first.
Obviously it's coming into a different country. So first of all, you got the language. That's that's something different. Luckily, with mum being originally from Holland. For me, I knew a little bit beforehand, not as much as I do now. But at the start, it was very. Luckily, the team that I'm in was a very welcoming team, and there was always someone. If I didn't understand things, they translate it and make sure that I'm involved with things. Not only that I'm always on time, because they say time here very differently to how we say time at home. So I think one of the first weeks that I was here, that they say 4:30, which I thought in my head is 4:30,
No.
but that was completely wrong. I turned up an hour late, and it was 4:30. It's like half an hour to 4 o'clock, and I thought, I've got to seriously get my head around that. But they made sure that I knew what the right timings were, and always involved with not only things in the court but also off the court if they're doing social things outside, and not only speaking English to me, but making sure that I'm putting in the effort to actually learn their language as well. So we'd always have fun with trying to say different words, because they've got a strong G that is very hard to pronounce, and I still not very good at it. But I make do with what I can do, and they appreciate that, the fact that I can now understand them and speak back to them as well in Dutch, and it makes everything a lot easier.
Have you got a favorite Dutch word?
No, yeah, yeah. The first words that I learned was obviously to do with being on the pitch, and obviously in England you say tight, boy feed, girl feed, and they don't have that here. You say where you are on the pitch. So if I'm at the post and I'm stopping the feed from coming in, and they have a rebound, I'll say 4, which means I'm in front. And then obviously if I'm behind, then I'll say achter, which is I'm behind, and that lets everyone know how you're standing around the post, and how they have to defend. And I think that them 2 words are always going to stick with me, because they're the first 2 words that I had to learn. And now it's come a lot better. I'm not saying that I'm any good at it, but it's getting there.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's another layer of things to consider when moving to a completely new place. But sounds like with the level that Korfball is involved in your life, there's an immediate kind of community there already, which is really awesome. And clearly you've stayed longer than a year, so must be really enjoying it. And something I wanted to then talk about is kind of Daetos's current season. Obviously a new coaching team coming in this year. You've got Richard van Vloten, apologies for the pronunciation, who previously of DVO fame. He's actually one of my favorite coaches. I think the stuff he did at DVO was like monumental. A team that was in the playdowns all the way up, and he's taken them to the Korfball League final. Really got the best out of that group of players, I think. And you can see him not being there this year, they've struggled a bit, I think. So seems like a great addition to Daetos, and you guys are now kind of flying high, second in the table. How has that coaching transition been, and how do you feel like your season is going so far?
Yeah, the season's been going great so far. I can't complain about that. Obviously, we had an intense game on Saturday just gone against the top, who are number 1 in the league, and they are a very good team, and they've been playing at this level for the last 4 years or so now, trying to get back into the league. They haven't had any luck in the last couple of years, and not quite there. But this year, I think they're a very good team, and we've been able to be considered their rival this year, which when Richard and Mark came into the team, we were Korfball League 2 level, and we were always more towards the middle of the table, bottom end of the table, and we wanted to change that. But we never thought we had the goal of making it into the playoffs, but we didn't necessarily think, we can become actual champions in the Korfball League 2 and get promoted straight away. So for us to be able to be in that position is a positive in itself. And we're still on track for our goal of making the playoffs, and we've got 5 games left, and I think we need to get 2 more wins out of those 5, and then we've got the playoffs for certain. So that will be also a new experience for us with a very young team, and we want to push as high as we can go. We know we can play well as a team, and it's just about putting the right pieces together and performing at the right moment. That's what we're building up to for the playoffs at the moment, and it's been an exciting season for sure. And with the new coaches of Richard and Mark, it sounds strange, but Richard reminds me a lot of how my mum and dad coach. And I think for me, that is, it's been perfect. It's instilled a new confidence within me, and not only in how I play, but just the mannerism of how I am on a pitch. And it's almost, taken me back to the days of Tornadoes, where I think, I can do certain things, and it's not necessarily, I'm playing at Korfball League 2 level now. It's, they've got they've got 2 arms and 2 legs. I've got 2 arms and 2 legs. What's the difference? I can do everything that they can do and go for it, really. But that's the mentality of Richard, which is also the same as mum and dad's. And I'm sure that my generation of under 7 will have heard that phrase of they've just got 2 arms and 2 legs. That was more or less every time we played the Belgium and played Dutch. That was my mum's go-to coaching phrase to get us pumped up for the game. And that's something I've taken into my play out here as well. And that's for me how Richard and Mark have made an impact on how I've been. But not only me, I know they've had the same effect for quite a lot of players in my team as well.
Yeah. Can confirm that Corinne has said those very words to me and people on my team. But yeah, it's true. It's true. Makes the Dutch slightly less intimidating before you have to go out and face them. Yes, so for those who don't know, the team that finishes top of Korfball League gets automatic, Korfball League 2 gets automatic promotion into Korfball League, and those that come second will go into a playoff to play the second to bottom team from the Korfball League. And as you say, very much on track and in a good place to hopefully try and achieve that this year. You are, of course, playing alongside some former Korfball League players, some really exciting young players. Particular names that stand out to me are, of course, Randy Oosting, who's been at PKC, been at Datos as well in the past, playing in Korfball League, is an incredibly entertaining player to watch. Also, you've got Maze Opper in the team, brother of Dutch international Bo Opper, but also a very good player in his own right. What is it like playing alongside these kind of big names in Korfball, and what have you learned from such dynamic players such as them?
With you named just Mason, Randy. Mace is a unique player. Obviously, he's only 22, almost 23, and he's almost was it 2 meters and 5 centimeters tall. So I think that's around about 6'11", 6'12". Yeah, for me, obviously in England, I was one of the tallest players, and now I've come over here, and now I'm probably one of the smallest in the team, the boys wise. But we have DeetosSnel are known for having a very tall team, so that was to be expected anyway. So to learn that playing against those sort of players, not only the play style of how you play against them, but also the physicality of the game. Randy obviously is similar size as me, and the way he rebounds and the way he controls a game is impressive. And you learn tricks of the trade and how you're meant to position yourself around the post if you're playing against someone who is as tall as Mace, or if you're playing against someone who's who's just more of a physically built and stronger person. There's different things that you can do. I think we have a very young team, so it's we're learning a lot from. I'm learning a lot from Mason, Randy, and they're learning. I hope they're learning things from me as well. And I'll also name Jorn Raymons as he's a guy that he's only 20 years old, and I often play in an end with him, but he is physically probably one of the strongest people that I know. I try and rebound against him, and it's like rebounding against a brick wall. It's hard to do, but he's also an all-round player as well, and he's definitely one to watch for the future. You learn things from each other every day, and I think the main difference from England Korfball to Dutch Korfball is the physicality side of it. The amount of pressure they can give in defence, the amount of the pressure they can put on a rebound as well, and you have to learn how to play against that and play through that. And that's for me. I enjoy doing that. It's a challenge, and you got to push yourself to do it, and you have to find solutions to different problems, which is a big thinking side of the game as well.
That's
so
genuinely fascinating. And as well, I can imagine for you getting to play with those players that you've watched and stuff like that. I obviously get to do that a little bit, not in the same way. You've been watching these guys for years. I can definitely attest to how cool that is, and I'm sure you're feeling the same way. But one thing I'd love to learn from you, Shane, I think the listeners that maybe don't consume as much Dutch Korfball and have never maybe gone out to the Netherlands. If you were able to, it might be quite difficult, but is there any way that you could kind of, I guess, give us an outline of, you mentioned the difference is physicality, but like the level that you've gone to, like the Korfball League 2, for example, could you ascertain what level that feels like compared to the UK? Maybe that was when you were lower level at Tornadoes coming up, and like, how do you feel the difference compares? Is there a comparison you have that you could give people?
Or no, yeah, obviously I can't really compare to the UK because that's, yeah, I'd say the level that at the moment that Becker at, you could probably compete against certain teams in the Korfball League 2 at the lower end, and then yeah, you'd have to develop and push yourself to get up to the higher end, which yeah is a hard task in itself. And I think obviously if Beck or yeah, when my old team of Tornadoes, when we were in when everyone was there, yeah, you'd compete at a good level at the Hoofdklasse, which is the level just below it. So if you're kind of looking at tiering wise, it's kind of that level, and then you push up. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to find that margin where you can say, where you can compare it, because it's almost, they always, obviously Beck have played against PKC this year as well, and the way they play at international level is different to how they play than when they're here. So to try and judge it is a hard one.
Yeah, I feel like people would love to actually know, you obviously you're doing it, you're testing yourself. But when I watched the Korfball League 2, the dynamicness, the physicality, just how strong everybody is, it's definitely clear that it is a level above. And yeah, I think it's really interesting for people to know that actually you're not in the top tier of the Dutch league, and actually the team that is, obviously not unbeaten this year, but previously had gone unbeaten in the season and whatever, and comfortably won our top league, probably would struggle to stay up in the Korfball League 2, is what you're saying. I think it gives people an idea of the level that you're playing at now. And one question, because we had tons of questions from people that they wanted to ask you, and we try to interweave them where we can rather than just going out and asking you like all of these in a row. One question one of the followers had was, what is something that you've learned from the Dutch league that you hadn't learned in England? Or what's would you say is the biggest skill that you've learned in Holland that you haven't necessarily either learned or honed or whatever?
Yeah, I think my defensive presence has grown since I've been here. I think that's something that in England I kind of experienced it a little bit. I only had it necessarily one time. Was unfortunately again for you guys was against Beck. Was my dad gave me the task of defending Joe Bedford, and being able to live at home with my dad. I had the time that I can sit down and we can look through video stuff and see different tells of certain attackers. Like if preferably want to shoot on the right foot, preferably want to shoot on the left foot, and then want to go inside in a certain way or after a certain action. And I think I've learned that part of the game more here. Like every week, my role in Dietos at the moment is to defend what they call a striker, who is to mainly go out and get goals, is to put a pressure on them and have as minimal amount of goals against me as possible, and kind of disrupt the other team's style of play. And I think actually watching games and analysing it is the thing I've learned the most here. I can now watch, I do it with my brothers, Luke and Ben, every now and then. Is they'll be like, can you watch the game and say what we can do better? And I'll be like, okay, when you're defending this person, 90% of the time they'll be only shooting off the left foot. So you can defend people in different ways to push them in different directions that are not necessarily comfortable with. And everyone has favourite ways of shooting, favourite places from shooting. And if you can disrupt that, it disrupts their game as well, and it can disrupt a whole team. That's one thing that I think I've learned a lot since being here. And it's definitely something I've taken into my game a lot more.
Yeah, that is fascinating, and I really hope that they definitely didn't show the game where they just absolutely smoked me. Well, they don't need to. They don't need feedback on that.
Yeah,
they don't need feedback on that. That's just there's no feedback. Maybe I'll send you my clips.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll see what we can do.
And you'll just be like, we can't do anything with that, mate. Let's just stick to the pod. No, but thank you, mate. That's really insightful. Always great to get some listener questions. And then I'll pass back over to Caitlin, who I'm sure will take us in whatever direction she feels is the listeners will want to hear.
Yeah, just conscious of time. So something I would, kind of slightly away from Dutch Korfball, but very much Korfball related. Obviously, recently seen the ETS announcement here in England with yourself included back in the England senior setup, which is obviously great for the sport and for fans, etc. I'd love to hear kind of what drew you back into that England fold and your ambitions for the England team.
Well, it was you guys, wasn't it? I thought that was
Yes.
what we went with. I heard the shout out on the podcast. I had to come back. No, yeah.
It's on the record.
It's on the record. It's on the record. No. In all seriousness, it was Mike Hopkins. It was initially reached out to me and asked to have a phone call and just to see where I was at and how I was looking at things with England Korfball, because the last couple get my words out. Last couple of years hasn't necessarily been what England Korfball have wanted. Obviously dropping down to the 15th ranking, and I think a lot of that is you have a lot of political things in the background, and I know it's stopped players from representing, and obviously we don't want that in sport. We want to take the best team and we want to go for as high as possible. And I've spoken with other people as well, and it's a shame that some of them have stopped now. The likes of Jacob Dawes and Zach Catterall, who's my generation, and I've kind of thought I want to go back into winning bronze medals. I've got 3 bronze medals at the under-17s and one at the under-19s level, and that's something you can't get that experience anywhere else. You have to go out onto the international stage and do that. And that's something I love playing for England. It's something I've always done. I've been able to be lucky being able to be captain for England. Being involved with that is always a special thing and a pride thing as well. And I think now is a good time where the team, we can have a very good team and you can push for bronze medals. Not even bronze medals, it's all, you can also look further at silver medals. And the Dutch can have an off day. We've seen it all before, is that they are human. I've seen it, I think, living here as well and playing here. You think, you know what, they can have an off day. Go back to the phrase like my mum says, they've got 2 arms and 2 legs. There's nothing too much different from them than us. And I think that's the mentality people have got to have. And not think, you know what, we're going to a tournament to just get a bronze medal or just get as 4th or 5th or whatever it is. It's no, every game is there to win, and that's the mentality you've got to have. And I think there's a group of players in England that can have that mentality and can push for that. That's something that has drew me back into the sport, not the sport, but international level.
Well, I think I love that ambition and that intention there, and I think I speak for everyone. When we're all really excited for the future in that England team and see where we can go. Speaking of England and England Korfball, I think, James, that might be quite a nice segue into our small quickfire game we have for Shane.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely a good segue. Also, Shane, I can't tell you how excited when your name was on the ETS. I think that there was a lot of people. We started to create dream divisions. Like that was already a thing that's happening, right? Where people that was happening in multiple group chats I was a part of how are we going to, like lots of people saying, are we finally going to get to see Shane Buckland and Blake Parframin in the same division? The two probably generational talents people talk about. Will we finally get to see? Many times people said Blake was one of the only players they thought could truly play in the Korfball League in the Netherlands. That was a common phrase that I heard over the last 10 years or so. You're out there doing it now, and I'm sure, it's lots of excitement, mate. So I'm sure you're feeling the excitement as well.
Of course, we'll just have to wait and see. Divisions, I've known Blake for a very long time. If we play well together or not, that I still don't know. So it'll be not interesting to see and find out.
Yeah, absolutely. But 2 things you mentioned, and one segment that Caitlin and I are bringing to the podcast that we want, and you mentioned a name that I want to bring back, right? So we noticed, and through speaking to multiple people, that lots of people will stop playing korfball. Lots of extremely talented people that could walk into National League teams now and be devastating. One name you mentioned a few names that don't play korfball anymore, but one name you mentioned is Zach Catterall. So our segment is basically, we're going to bring on, whenever we have a guest on, we're going to raise a random name that no longer plays korfball that we think it's a crime that they don't play korfball anymore. And it's our calling We had the power of bringing Shane Buckland back to England. Now we are trying to bring other players back to Korfball. Charlie Vogwell tried it with Caitlin's twin, Adele Mitchell. And so, yeah, we're calling out Shane. Zach should come back to Korfball, correct?
100% agree. I think Zach is a great player. I always used to play down the same end as him, whether that be for Tornadoes, England, whatever. He's a great loss for the sport by not playing. He's someone, if you're going into war, you definitely want him on your side. Luckily, I always had him. I'd love to see him back playing the sport. I know he's planning on coming out to see me in a couple of weeks. So I'm gonna have a big conversation with him about what he's going to be doing, and then big mark for the sport. He is, that's for sure.
Could not agree more. Top 5 shithouse as well. Watching him play, cracking, unbelievable. Kieran Hicks level. That is like, if not better.
Yeah,
so
agree, 100%.
Yeah, sweet. That's it. You heard the call out, folks. Right, Caitlin, let's get on to the segment we wanted to go through. We have a Dutch player, we're calling it now, a Dutch league player on the pod. But what we want to know from you is basically we're going to run through the current National League teams, and we want to know from you one player out of the team. So boy or girl, doesn't matter, but one player from each team that you would love to play with. You can have played with them, or it can just be a wish list. It's up to you. You dictate the criteria of those teams. I'll go through them in a totally random order, okay? So we'll start off with Norwich Knights.
Norwich Knights, I'm going to have to go with Luke Coit-McKenzie. I've played with him before, and it's always a pleasure. And I think, he is an absolutely quality player.
Could not agree more. Get back in England, Luke. There you go. Another call out. What are we starting here, Caitlin?
100% agree.
Caitlin, I'll let you go next.
Oh, I'll pick a team, Nomads.
Nomads. I think there's one player from Nomads that I've never played with, and that's Ollie Bell. I've played against him many a times, and he's always, for me, has always been a good player, and I think we would play quite well together. That sort of connection, is an interesting one as well that I'd be interested in playing with.
They could tear up Epsom on a Wednesday night.
No, that's the one thing I refuse to go back to is playing in Epsom.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm so sorry, but comparing facilities out here to to then going back to Epsom, that's one thing I don't think I'd ever be able to do.
That's very fair.
Love that. Okay, next up, we'll go Bearsted.
Yeah, the Bearsted team I don't know too well at the moment. I can say, maybe, they have a lot of young players at under 17 level. I know he's going to absolutely love me for saying this if he's watching it, is George Barrett. I've seen him play under 17s and he has potential, and I think there's someone you could mould into a good player.
Love that.
Yeah, great
Love
shout.
that. Good shout, George.
Next team, should I pick? Trojans.
Oh, yeah, you have a few players that it's obviously nice to play with. But I think, again, it's a player that I've never played with is Catherine Brooks. I think it's a great player, and would be someone, be great to play with as well.
Yeah, got to play with her for about 15 minutes at an England session the other day, and would love to do it again. Such a great person to play with.
Yeah, having an unbelievable season as well. Great work. Next up, we will go with Cambridge Tigers.
Yeah, you have a few players there that would be interested in playing with. Obviously, Isaac O'Hare, I think he's having a great season at the moment. But again, I think it's someone that I've always played against and never with. That attraction of playing with them is always something, because I always had a nightmare of a game against him, and that's Andrew Hall. The human wrecking ball, as I call him. I will, I'll go for him.
Good gas. We love Andy.
Yeah, can confirm human wrecking ball. Next, we'll travel as many Cambridge players do. We'll travel from Cambridge to Bristol. Who from Bristol?
Yeah, there's a few names in there that you could say. I think one individual I think is having a great season this year. I've been trying to keep up with as many games so far as possible. I know he had a good season last season as well. Laurie Fabian, and I think he's definitely a player to look out for. It's a very nice in how he plays. Again, someone I've never played with, and would be interested in seeing how that combination could work. Yeah,
having a really another really solid season, and it's got into that ETS squad. So maybe a combination we'll see soon.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Oh God. I really hope to get down for some of these training. Mike was talking about doing content on the training sessions. I'm like, let's do it. I get to watch training. That'll be fascinating. Next up, we'll go the new youth team on the market, Bromley.
God, yeah. I feel like you have two players there that I would be interested in playing with. Yeah, it's one boy and one girl. And I think, you have the girl-wise, you have the Kushala. I don't know the surname, but from what I've seen, is a very, very attacking player, and it's very nice to see how she plays. I was lucky enough to see her at the challenge as well. And same thing, she has a style of play that is very nice to see. And boy-wise, I think Jacob Reimers is also, I've known him a very long time now, is going back to the good old Avon Tyrrell Korfball camp, where I was able to be a helper there, and he was one of those annoying little kids that you got to look after. He is, he's always had talent, and I think he's now proving that as well in the league. And it's also an interesting to see how I'd be able to play with him as well.
No, I was just going to say, definitely one to watch, and he's proving that he can compete at the National League level. We'll travel to another kind of a young team, Tornadoes, who are in the current Tornadoes setup.
You're gonna have to.
I can't wait for this. I can't wait
This is a hard
for this.
one.
There's no way you win this. This is
I know that.
an unwinnable answer.
You see, in my eyes, Luke and Ben are two different players, and if you combine them, you will get a perfect player. And I'm sure that will come with time, that they're learning as well, and they're learning different attributes. But to play with either of them would obviously be an honour. And then someone I've always enjoyed playing with at Tornadoes is obviously girlfriend Alex Richardson. I think she's a very underrated player, and it's good to see her also in the ETS. She's, in my eyes, a great defender, and that you don't have often in England great defenders. Is so to have someone who can do that is someone you want to play with. And then you got King of Vibes as well, Will Alderton. That is. It's a difficult decision, but I think So that I'm going to stay in the good books of the missus, and I'm going to go with Alex Richardson. Not that I don't want to play with Luke and Ben, but also I think Alex is a great player, and it's something that I think we always play well together.
Smart answer.
See.
Yeah. No. Also, very, very fair answer. Caitlin and I both said after that, I think it was the first ETS trial session, she was unbelievable. And I think really stood out. And multiple times I've watched that matchup. She always seems to play Rachel Turner, and she's an exceptional player. Just unbelievable. That matchup is money for anybody that wants to go back and watch them two going at it. It is honestly incredible. Two elite players, and she does such a wonderful job. So great shout, mate. And then we've got Kingfisher. So there's a lot of former friends for this that you've won lots with. But who would you choose from Kingfisher?
From Kingfishers, I think for me, one person who's always going to have a big part in how I play korfball and how I've grown up playing korfball is Owen Bailey. He was almost, when I first came into Tornadoes, is a big brother to me, and guided me when things weren't going so well, when I wasn't playing so good, and he made a massive impact on me. So I think for that reason alone, he'll be the one that I want to play with, because I know I've got a great connection with him. We can play well together, and
very, very good, solid choice.
All of you guys seem to, that generation of Tornadoes, all seem to play with sauce, right? There's that little bit of extra flavor, like a little bit of extra seasoning that goes on, and I feel like Owen Bailey is the epitome of that. Really nice, and I feel like everybody kind of does it. So if you're saying, we'll just give it to him, we'll just claim that Owen Bailey's the reason that those Tornadoes players play with the flavour they do.
I think if you watch back to one of the first seasons that I played in the first team with Owen, I think he attempted at least 5 times the one-handed turnaround from the feed in every game in the year, and that is a standout move. That alone is inspired the rest of us. Let's just say that.
No, it's an iconic one. And finally, we have Bet.
I've been thinking about this, and there is one person who I think is having a great season this year, and that is Mr. Billy Ashby. And I'm great friends with, and I think not only this year, the last couple of years, he's made great steps, and I've always known he's been a great shooter, and this takes us back to days of inter-area where I have to play against him, and he'll always claim that he blocked me, but he never did. And it's I think he's a great player, and looking forward to see what he does in the ETS as well. And that's someone I'd love to play with.
Billy Ashby chatting shit, I couldn't imagine.
Also, I have heard on the grapevine that he is willing to do a For Korf's Sake podcast if we do it together. So that could be a future episode. It's you've heard it here.
He did say that. There's an unaired Korfball For Korf's Sake episode from Lisbon, a live episode where Billy's in the studio audience alongside a group of about 40 Chinese tourists at one point. There's multiple reasons that episode will never see the light of day. But yeah, Billy Ashby is a great choice. He's having a phenomenal season. He is just a great defender, but he's an absolute potent goal scorer. Not sure, Caitlin, how you're feeling about this. Since I have had some first team games this season, I do feel a little bit disappointed. I don't know if you thought he was going to obviously drop our names. I'm not sure how you're feeling, but
I think we end the podcast now.
yeah.
I'm always willing to do a Nomads tournament or the new Leicester tournament. Is it Leicester or Leicester tournament? I'm sure we can make a great team up there. With you can make an ultimate For Korf's Sake team. Everyone that's been on, you can make a team from that and see how far that can go.
I love that idea. As I've mentioned before on this podcast, my greatest claim to fame in Korfball is that my tournament percentage is obscenely high because I essentially play with Blake and it's just basically a Beck or like a mixed national league team. At one point, Neela was playing in the final with us. So I never really actually play. I just sit on the sidelines, talk a bit of shit. I think you've experienced that where I
have experienced that. Yeah.
That come on for 2 minutes and then call it a day. But yeah, that would be great. A good Leicester tournament would be awesome. But I think that's all the teams, right, Caitlin?
Yeah, it's everyone.
Yeah. But yeah, listen, we that's absolutely perfect. But listen, Shane, thank you so much for coming on. I hope at some point in future we'll do some content with the ETS and we can get you back on board again. It's been great hearing about the Netherlands. It's been great hearing about everything that you've got going on. I'm sure everybody's really eager to hear from you, and I know they have been submitting a lot of requests for it. But yeah, thank you for making the time late on your Tuesday night. We're both very grateful for that. And yeah, I'll sort of pass over to Caitlin to say some final words.
Yeah, just to thank you very much for coming on and for shining a light on the ultimate Korfball nerds topic, which is Korfball over in the Netherlands and hearing about life out there. So yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, look forward to crossing paths with you again soon.
No, I appreciate you having me, and yeah, I'll be definitely following the For Korf's Sake podcast journey and how far it goes. I think you can go internationally, you can go wherever you want with it. I know I think it's a great idea, and I think it's something that's you guys are doing a great job, and be more than willing to come back on and do things with you guys. It's great idea.
Cheers, Shane.
Mate, thank you so much, and we'll see you in Leicester.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
Good luck for the rest of the
Take
season.
care.
See ya. Bye.
Bye-bye. And there we go, Caitlin. Another episode in the bag. We are international superstars now. He's an international superstar. That makes us international superstars, doesn't it?
Exactly. We just tag along, I've been doing that in the Bet team for years.
Yeah. You. That is literally my number one talent. But yeah, amazing. Thank you to Shane for coming on. Yeah, very excited for all things England in the future. We'll be doing lots of content around that. Just buzzing for it. It's made me really excited, Caitlin. So awesome, right?
Yeah, all good stuff. Keep it coming.
As always with us, we'd love to know what next week's guest is, but we don't really know. We're hoping that Kevin Allen's going to come on and talk about the semi-final and competition. We're going to try and maybe reach out to some EKA people to try and maybe get that working. And we're also in conversations with some very iconic England players to try and bring them on as well. But yes, we will leave it there. It's quite late our time. It's incredibly late Shane's time. But yeah, thank you so much as always to all of you for listening. We are grateful. If there are any Dutch listeners here, dankjewel to you guys as well. We're very grateful. And I'll say from myself, I'll say goodbye. I'll say tot ziens, doei, whatever the Dutch is, and I'll pass over to Frizzy Rascal as always to sign us out.
Yeah, all I have to say is another week, no IKF podcast.